Right, that's brilliant. We need to move on now, and we're going to move on to something that's been very, very dominant, shall we say, in the last 2 or 3 weeks. And I say dominant only in the fact that it's dominant in the media. I don't think it's dominant per se, and that's Tory corruption, Conservative Party corruption, which has come out of nowhere really in the media, hasn't it? I mean, what we've seen in the last couple of weeks is newspapers and media organisations that generally, shall we say, look the other way, or write up articles in using soft language when maybe harsh language is probably more justified. Who've suddenly turned on Boris Johnson. They've suddenly turned on elements of the Conservative Party in a big way. I mean, Tom, can you just list some of the corruption and some of the scandals that in recent times? Because it's phenomenal.
It is, and I mean, it's been evident even before the pandemic that what we have now is you know, both of the main two political parties in the UK, Conservative and Labour, have shifted massively to the right over the last 2, 3, 4 years, and we have now a Conservative government who are no longer the more moderate one nation Conservatives of old. They got rid of all of those a couple of years ago. They were all kind of booted out of the Conservative Party. We have now the most right-wing government and particularly cabinet that we've ever seen. But also, what we have is not a government that's employing traditional Conservative policies and ideology. It seems to have shifted so that their ideology is mostly about nationalism and cronyism and corruption. It seems like, the main thrust of what they do is to eke out as much public funds, as much money from government, from the economy as they can for themselves and their incredibly rich friends and donors. Of course, it goes round in a circle.
Can I just say, Tom, do you think that they're using the support that they got from leavers, from Brexit voters, certainly in the short to medium term, to get away with this? Because you tend to find that the people who are celebrating the Conservative Party for bringing about what their Brexit are also prepared to turn a blind eye to literally anything at the moment the Conservative Party are doing.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm sure lots of our viewers are on various political groups on social media, and are used to seeing Conservative supporters, including young Conservative supporters, who are kind of blind to it all and sort of say there isn't any corruption. And it's extraordinary. Of course, that's a little bit about the media that we're all exposed to. We're all exposed to different types of media. And we don't know what we don't know. And if you like, a friend of mine a couple of years ago said, we mustn't blame the lied to. We must blame the liars. So I don't want to be accusatory or put down people that can support the Conservatives and aren't aware of corruption, because you don't know what you don't know. And we must blame the liars here. The politicians and the billionaires media that are lying, and often lying by omission, lying by not informing people of what's really going on, rather than the people that are believing the lies, ordinary people that are being hoodwinked and lied to.
Can you just remind some of the readers, and some of the viewers, of what some of those scandals have been? Because
sure,
the list.
Yeah, I mean, just to list a few. I mean, obviously we had Jenrick, with the
Robert Jenrick,
helping Robert Jenrick, helping his friend, Tory donor and housing developer to avoid a 40-odd million pound charge on a housing development. We've just in the last 2-3 weeks, we've obviously had the whole Cameron Green Seal scandal, lobbying scandal. And that's involved not just Cameron, but obviously Rishi Sunak and Matt Hancock, who he was meeting with and texting with, to try and get a huge amount of public funds to prop up the failing Green Seal capital company that he worked for. We've had Matt Hancock suddenly be seemingly just awarded a certain amount of shares in his sister's company, and then it turns out his sister's company has just been awarded an NHS contract. So he stands to gain significantly financially, personally from that. And of course, we've had Johnson a whole litany of scandals just in the last couple of weeks. Obviously, we've had the scandal about who paid for the extravagant refurbishment of the flat above number 11, where him and Carrie Simmons live, and the fact he seems not to have been telling the truth about who at least initially paid for that. It's likely to have been is it Lord Brownlow, a Tory donor? It's reported that that's quite likely. Anyway, and what else have we had with Boris Johnson? The other big one. Oh, whether he said about the thousands of bodies. Sorry, how could that slip my mind? Him making his comment about, you know, let the bodies pile high in their thousands before I'll have another lockdown. And of course, that's you know, that's based on a lot of incredibly rich people, influential, powerful people in the UK, America, and elsewhere who fund the Conservatives, who fund Johnson, and who in the main funded Brexit.
But I think if I can just
putting pressure on.
If I can just come in there though, Tom, I think what I find in this situation so extraordinary is that Boris Johnson is denying it, and yet for so many people it's not a surprise because he talks like that. You know, if you look at his Etonian Oxford background, but not just that, he's put on this great persona of looking like a bumbling idiot in order to be attractive to, he perceives it, to so many people. It's almost manufactured over years and years and years. So the fact now that 3 people were either in the cabinet or were close by when he made those remarks, who are now prepared to go on record to say that he said these things, and yet he continues to deny it. The reason he continues to deny it is because so much that he says is in front of largely Tory audiences that he gets paid to stand in front of. This is before he became a prime minister, that would all laugh and clap, having, you know, been downing bottles of Bollinger beforehand. Now he said it in a situation last October, which has now been revealed to the corporate billionaire media, and they have been prepared to go with it. So in this situation, it's not like, oh, that's just Boris Johnson. Now, for some reason, they decided that enough is enough, and I think they think that the bumbling idiot has had his time.
You may well be right, Jason. I mean, there's probably elements of the right-wing media that fancy someone else at the top now. Maybe Boris has done his job in finalising the Brexit deal, getting that over the line, and using his bumbling persona to somehow charm the electorate. But maybe they are looking for somebody a little more serious now in charge. And of course, you know, elements of the right-wing media are connected with other Conservatives who may be interested in the top job. A particular example is obviously the Daily Mail and Sarah Vine, Michael Gove's wife.
Of course, Murdoch is very much behind Michael Gove too.
Yeah, they've always been very close, and Murdoch presented an award to Gove in America and was gushing in his presentation speech about Michael Gove. And there's rumours that that when Gove was Education Secretary and Cummings obviously was his underling working for him, that they were working closely with Murdoch. Murdoch was very interested in getting a piece of academisation of schools and looking to profit from that and have influence over our education system. God forbid. It may be that will return to haunt us at some point, especially if Gove becomes Prime Minister.
I think that's a really good point to stop, actually, because your comment there, this will come back to haunt us. I can see, unfortunately, this becoming a recurring theme. Not the corruption, as I said before. I think the corruption is embedded now within our system. And the more embedded it becomes, unfortunately, sometimes the more desensitized a lot of people, you know, are to things. But in essence, I think while the corporate billionaire media keep on bringing it to the fore, we can't avoid it. We can't ignore it. And the more it goes on, if you think about, for example, the end of Margaret Thatcher, it was a whole line of things, this crusading from poll tax and a whole number of other things over a number of months and years. Eventually, she went. And then if you look,
Jace, it was actually corruption that arguably brought an end to that 17-year period of Tory government.
Yes, it was.
You know, they had a number of cabinet ministers, you know, caught in huge corruption and sleaze scandals. A couple of them, Aitken and Archer, ended up in prison. So arguably, it was corruption and sleaze that brought an end to that government, and it may well we may well see that happen again.
And John Major. I mean, Tony Blair came in on the back of, again, a whole number of sleaze, and obviously consequently we found out about his affair with Edwina Curry that had been going on for years, while he was telling us to go back to basics morality. So, I mean, I think, you know, like you said, this is probably going to be something, unfortunately, that we're going to be looking at on a number of occasions on this programme. Let's move on to...
Before we end now, I did just want to say, I mean, it's been absolutely, two last very quick things. It's been absolutely abundantly clear in the last year, and more evidence is coming out now, that pretty much the only thing this Conservative government have done well in terms of dealing with the pandemic is give vast sums of money, public money, our money, to their rich mates and donors, who then give some of it back again in donations to them as individuals and to the Tory Party, which is utterly corrupt. And you know, there are more and more examples. The Good Law Project, for the viewers that aren't aware of it, Good Law Project, thankfully one of the few legal organisations who are exposing this and actually holding the government to account, taking them to court to expose these corrupt, secretive contracts, deals that are made with their donors to give them vast sums of our money in an unaccountable way. And the other thing I just wanted to mention is that I don't want our viewers to think that all we're going to do every week is be a Tory bashing thing, because I mean, I think it's appalling that Keir Starmer has decided not to sign a cross-party opposition letter to the Speaker of the House of Commons, which demands an investigation into the lies being told in the Commons, the lies of Boris Johnson. And Keir Starmer's refused to sign that letter. And Jace, you've recently been aware of a letter that Keir Starmer wrote that's now come out to the Prime Minister. Is that right?
Yes, I mean, again, you know, we're running over time on this one, but just it came out last week that he signed a letter when he became leader of the Labour Party to effectively work closely with the Conservative Party. And I think that raises so many questions about an official opposition. You can't be an official opposition if you're effectively just turning your head away when major issues, especially around COVID. I mean, we've got the worst death rate in the world. You know, there's a lot of publicity this week about India, which we're going to move on to in a moment. But a lot of publicity about India passing the 200,000 deaths. We had 130 to 150,000 officially who have died. We have a population of 70 million. They have a population of 1.2 billion. So, I mean, we are going to come on to this, I know. But you know, Keir Starmer and Boris Johnson and their parties are up to their neck in what has happened in this country.